All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We appreciate you joining us today. We're super excited to kick off our CMD Adaptive Series with this Equipment and Environment webinar. My name is Kelly Berger. I'm the Outreach and Engagement Coordinator at CMD. I'm here alongside my co-host, Avery Roberts, and the rest of our CMD team. So today we are going to bring you the topic of adapting your space to work for you and maximize your independence as an effective individual living with CMD. Today's discussion in this webinar, we are focused on reviewing the latest in equipment and assistive devices and environment modifications. Many in the neuromuscular disease community are in need of durable medical equipment, or DME, and assistive devices. So these lifestyle changes call for environmental adaptations and housing modifications, which enhance an individual's quality of life. We'll also be hearing from some community members on their creative ways that they've made their space work for their needs. Just a reminder, this webinar is being recorded and will be available on YouTube afterwards. And we are also offering the closed captioning feature, so that's available to you on screen as well. We'll be utilizing the chat portal at the bottom for the Zoom, so feel free to have any questions. We also have a formal Q&A at the end, so you're welcome to go ahead and drop questions there or save them at the end with our speakers. So yeah, we're happy to answer any of those questions. And now on to our speakers. So today we have Wendy Davis, Marketing and Outreach Director for Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation. We have Ed Hitchcock, Technology Center, and ShirleyRyan AbilityLab. Ron BORGSCHULTE, Partners in Medicine. Jennifer GLUCK, creator at Jen Made It and a CMD Community Member. We have Hannah HEIMBAUGH, a speech and language pathologist and assistive technology specialist, founder and owner at AdaptAbilities. We have Deborah Pierce, principal and architect at Pierce Lamb Architects and author of The Accessible Home, Designing for All Ages and Abilities. And TOMECA GOODWIN, founder and president of Invisibly-Visible Foundation and an NMD Community Member. All right, so we are going to start off with Deborah with adaptive home design. So Deborah, go ahead and take it away, please.
I'm delighted to be here with this wonderful group of people. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm an architect in Boston, and I'm the author of The Accessible Home, which describes really a lifetime of experience as an architect and as a human being, working with people to make environments accessible. The book showcases 25 homes around the country, and I'll have a picture at the end and information on how to get that. The first thing to do when you think you need to do something about your home, and really, let me be clear, if you can't get around and use your home, it's not always a problem with the body, it's equally a problem with the home. And so the question is, do you simply want to fix a particular area, or do you want to have the whole house upgraded or a whole area of the house? What are you thinking about all of your concerns, the people who need to use it, caregivers, guests, people who come in part-time and people who live there. And I think it's important to say, both look at your body, what you can't do, what you want to be able to do, and look at your home, where are the barriers? We've got some examples here. The first thing is, of course, to make the outdoors accessible so you can get from your car or the public way into the house. We have here on the left a ramp going up to a house in Berkeley, California, which is a very hilly space. And on the right, we have a covered area that connects the garage and the house and a little ramp in between. The important thing, I think, with ramps is to make sure that it's integrated into the architecture, into the site, so that it's not broadcasting to the public that someone who is vulnerable lives there. If it's integrated, it's comfortable and easy to use. The materials match, the details can match. Sometimes we raise up the ground, sometimes we lower the floor by putting in a ramp, but either way, we accomplish the same thing. Again, how to make your improvements discreet. Here we see a platform lift on the right-hand side that is tucked behind those pumpkins on the left photograph. So the person comes and goes very easily, but it's not, again, kind of broadcasting that someone lives there who has some vulnerabilities. Indoors, we need to make it accessible as well. So we have wider hallways, we have level floors, level thresholds around a hearth around a fireplace, no thresholds, no curbs at the shower, just a simple, clear path of travel, wider doors, no dead ends. Make sure that we really think through where people need to get from one place to another. Sometimes I'll move doors to be opposite each other across the hallway to make sure that that's a simple, straight path of travel. Elevators are a great solution. I like to put the elevator in the center of the house, not off to the side, so that people with wheelchairs and people using their feet can go up and down stairs at the same time. You see in that yellow photo at the bottom, there are stacked closets in this house so that an elevator can be added later. Bathrooms are really important. Where do you start? A bathroom is used several times a day, so this really needs to be accessible. And you see here some showers that have a level floor, just a very slight slope to drain, hand showers, sink with plenty of knee space below, and there's a tilted mirror on the wall so that it is able to be, people can see in it from a seated position. Here we show the bathroom right off the hall, off the bedroom, and again, a shallow sink. The mirror in this case is very low. This, you can notice, I'm sure, that there's no grab bar here, but it's designed so that a grab bar can be added, and then plenty of space for transfer beside the toilet. In a kitchen, we want to have counters that are at a comfortable height to use, that are ergonomic, and we choose the appliances carefully too. So where they're located, how the door on that oven opens down rather than to the side, so that anything that spills is not going to get in the lap. And you see here, the man in the upper right photo is, he can reach the faucet because it's closer to the front of the sink. So these aren't expensive improvements. They're just, if you're going to do something, do it right and know that there are alternatives. This kitchen has 7 different counter heights because there are 2 people that use wheelchairs in this family. And the shelves on the left are above the knee space for the user. So I just really want to convey the idea that accessibility can be beautiful, and that's really the goal. Usable and beautiful. So don't forget the utility spaces, laundry rooms, closets, the mud room where that dog is. Everything can be designed a little differently when we need to use them from wheelchairs. An open plan is the way to go. We avoid walls. We're creating more maneuvering space. And on the left, you can see a bathroom where the sink is separate, doesn't have a door. So if we can eliminate doors, use pocket doors, I do that too. So the second question, what is your budget? I think there are questions of projects you can do yourself on a weekend or a handyman can do. And there are projects that need to have an outside contractor come in. Look at your resources, look at your possible loan programs. There are catastrophic illness and children's fund that has money that's income dependent, but it's worth applying for. Muscular dystrophy family foundation, Massachusetts has the home modification loan program. There may be certain limits on what's covered, but hey, it's a start and it's a real resource. It's great. I think it's fair to budget say a kitchen and a bathroom at something like $30,000 to $50,000 max. Depends really on where you are in the country and how big a project it is, how much needs to get changed around, windows, doors, heaters, things like that. And for an addition, again, 1-story, 2-story, big room, small room. What's the site? Is it sloped? Do you have a basement? But probably 150 to 300,000 gives you a good size addition. So the main thing I think is not only what do you need to do, but what do you want to do in your house, and to be able to have as normal a life as possible. Here are some pictures of people, all from the book, that have created wonderful places to use for their hobbies. Assemble your team, architects, builders, your healthcare team, product representatives, your mobility devices, and I think everybody has a lot to contribute. This is a team effort. So this is my contact information, which I will put on the chat, and I thank you all for your time today.
All right, great. Thanks, Deborah. Now we're going to send it over to Wendy, who's going to talk about smart home advancements.
So I'm Wendy Davis. I'm the Outreach Director for Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm with Pennsylvania Assistive Technology Foundation. I would like to point out, first of all, that all the pictures in this slide presentation are of clients that we've helped to get their assistive technology, and all of these are actually examples of smart home technology that we've helped people to get. They've agreed to let us use their images and their stories so that we can educate people about how smart home technology can be assistive technology. I'm going to go over what PATF is, go over what the federal definition is of assistive technology and how smart home devices can be categorized as assistive technology, which is important for insurance coverage, Office of Vocational Rehabilitation coverage, things like that. We're going to talk about how to integrate smart home technology into your home and maximize independence. And I have some videos of people who have integrated smart home technology into their home, so you can get a visual of how that can be done. Really quickly, how to fund your assistive technology, because that's what PATF does, and you will have a similar organization in your state, and the latest announcements in smart home technology. So we are Pennsylvania's Alternative Finance Program, which is a program that was authorized under the Federal Assistive Technology Act. Every state can have an alternative finance program. We are also a CDFI with our interests on helping people with disabilities. So what is assistive technology? I know we're frequently, many of us on this presentation will be talking about that, but we use the federal definition of assistive technology. So it's a much broader definition than people really think of. And we talk about how it impacts people's lives. They can live independently, go to work, school, communicate, play, be active in their communities with the assistance of assistive technology. And these are examples of people that we've helped with getting their assistive technology. Included in that is AT services, which is really important. Deborah talked about that as well. Anything with home modifications, if you need someone to come in, do an evaluation, selection, designing, this is all part of AT services and can be included on the coverage for the AT. This is also really important when you're trying to integrate smart home technology into your home. Some things will need an electrician to install them. We received a 4-year grant from the Pennsylvania Developmental Disabilities Council. With that grant, they asked us to develop materials to educate people about how smart home technology, generic smart home technology, can help people to live more independently. We developed a website, smarthomesmadesimple.org, and a guide, Smart Homes Made Simple, Your Guide to Smart Home Technology. There's a link in the chat. You can download that guide. It's a PDF and it's a 508 compliant, so it's fully accessible. So I have some really quick examples of smart home technology as assistive technology. Set a smart speaker or smartwatch with reminders for medical appointments or meetings. A smart garage door opener. We actually have one set up in our house. My husband has suffered sudden deafness, has a implant, and we have 2 children born with hearing loss. We don't hear when a delivery comes to the house. So the smart key on Amazon has been a great advantage to us. They put the package directly into the garage. We don't miss that there's been a delivery, and it's not sitting out in the rain. Use a smart speaker to set an alarm or play nature sounds to fall asleep. Lock or unlock your door. This is a great tool for people that have a lot of aides coming in and out of their home. They don't need to worry about getting to the front door to answer the door. Each aide can have their own code in order to enter the home. When that aide is no longer coming to the home, that code can be disabled. That way you're securing the home. You don't need to leave the door unlocked all day, just so people can have ease of access. Smart home video cameras help notify you if someone's at your front door or any activity around the yard. Smart smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. These are very sophisticated devices. When they go off, they can actually tell you where the danger is. They interconnect, and alarm will sound all over the house for danger that's say in the basement. and then turning on and off lights with voice commands, which is very handy. So this is our guide, Smart Homes Made Simple, your guide to smart home technology. It's available in English and in Spanish, and we can send it. We, for free, send copies to people, or you can download a copy accessible in an accessible PDF. In the guide, there is a self-assessment tool, which is an important part of this process, we feel, in identifying which smart home technology will help you. Instead of going out and buying a bunch of smart home technology, and it sits in a box in a corner getting dusty because you didn't really need that. It didn't really address your needs. We have a self-assessment tool that actually helps you narrow down where are your struggles, where are your challenges, and where can smart home be of benefit in overcoming those challenges. And you'll see, and if for the people that are familiar with occupational therapy, it's really broken into functional activities, like your activities of daily living, and really begin to break down functionally, where do you need assistance? And that self-assessment tool is in the guide. This is only the first page. It actually is multiple pages. And I wanted to reflect back to Deborah. One of the key things, she mentioned your team. That is the same with smart home technology. We recommend that you develop a team because they can help you with support and troubleshooting if there are any issues with your smart home technology. So that's one of the first steps, is identifying who are the people that will be on your team to help develop your plan. Here I have some examples of smart home technology for just controlling and monitoring doors and garages. There's so many options just for your front door: a camera, a video doorbell that will actually show video on a smart speaker, even to a smart TV. Smart locks, smart deadbolt. We always recommend that you get the deadbolt. Automatic door openers. Now, this is one of the examples that I talked about, that you actually need an electrician to help with this one. But with an automatic door opener, someone can open and close doors through Alexa or through their cell phone. And then smart garage door openers, and that you can control that opening and closing of your garage on your cell phone. You get notifications when the garage door is open. And you'll see from these prices that many of these are very inexpensive devices. So now I have a video to show. This is Saria, and she has a home full of smart home technology. So we're going to take a quick tour of her home.
And I think the big thing about technology is accessibility. So it's not just accessibility for people with disability, but accessibility for everyone.
Alexa, turn on the living room lights. Okay. Alexa, turn on the overhead lights. Alexa, what's the downstairs temperature?
The downstairs temperature is 72 degrees.
Alexa, set downstairs to 73 degrees.
The heat's set to 73.
My work as an accountant, everything is done through the voice command. Put in appointments when I have to schedule for conference calls. I can just set a voice command the appointment into my calendar. I can pull up my calendar to remind me when is my next appointment. Show the entryway. I have assistive adaptive equipment such as the dowel to do the key punch on my keyboard, and I have adaptive mouse that will help to maneuver on the computer. Kirby, tab. Next, wheelchair appointment, tab. Kirby, dash. The next wheelchair appointment will be next week. Let me know if you would like me to put it on the calendar. Click send. Go to sleep. One of the things of answering the door, the number one thing, I have to make sure that it's secure, that I'm opening the door to someone that I'm familiar with. Alexa, turn on our TV.
Okay.
Volume up 2 times.
Okay.
Echo, show the entryway.
Alexa, turn on my door opener.
Okay.
Hello. You can put it over here.
Okay,
Thank you.
no problem. Have a nice day.
You too. And I think the big thing about technology is accessibility. So it's not just accessibility for people with disability, but accessibility for everyone. You know, everyone here uses your phone and your smartphone to access the world and information. And it's no different than what I use for me to access control and independence for my life.
I have another example. This is George. He is Assistive Technology Assistant at Easter Seals of Southeastern Pennsylvania. He actually serves on our Smart Home Advisory Committee for our project with Pennsylvania's Developmental Disabilities Council. George uses an augmentative and alternative communication device, or AAC device. I think we'll be seeing more about that in another presentation. He actually uses his accent device to give commands, voice commands to his Alexa. You'll see on his board here, his accent board, all the buttons with his different voice commands. And many of the devices that he's controlling in his home are being controlled simply with a smart plug, an Alexa enabled smart plug. And you can see they are very inexpensive. I just checked the pricing. The pricing varies here and there, but that's still about ballpark what it is for a 2-pack of smart plugs. And we have a demonstration. This is not as quite refined as the other video. An occupational therapist that we work with shot this really quick video, but we wanted to demonstrate how George uses voice commands on his AAC device to trigger smart home technology.
Alexa, turn living room light on.
Okay.
Okay.
Alexa, turn living room light off.
Okay.
Alexa, turn on fan.
Okay.
Alexa, turn off fan.
Okay.
Okay.
And TV?
TV.
Yeah.
Alexa, turn on the TV.
Okay.
Alexa, go to HDMI1.
Okay.
Okay.
Alexa, play Sinatra.
Here's some music by Frank Sinatra on Amazon Music.
George is a huge Philadelphia sports fan, and one of the things that he loves about having the smart TV is that he can control flipping back and forth between games if there are 2 different sports teams playing at the same time. And at some point, he stopped asking his home aides to help with that because sometimes they were tired of flipping channels for him, but now he can do that all by himself, and that has brought him great pleasure. And he loves Frank Sinatra. His dad was a musician. So he always likes to listen to Frank Sinatra. I had mentioned earlier the smart home technology for fire safety. The Google Nest is an example. One of the great things is these interconnect wirelessly, so you don't need to hardwire these into the multiple rooms. And as I mentioned, it sends notifications to your cell phone or to your smart speaker. And will tell you exactly where the danger was sensed. With our 2 children with hearing loss, this is great because they always have their cell phone with them, but they would never hear a high-pitched squeal of a traditional smoke detector, but they do notice the notifications on their cell phone. Smart video cameras are great. We've actually are using smart video cameras in an in-law suite that we built for my parents who suddenly had to come live with us. We built an accessible suite for them. And Deborah, I loved your pictures of the accessible bathrooms. We built a wheelchair accessible shower with zero barrier. And I use a smart video camera so I can check in on my mom when I'm on the road, make sure the aide arrived when she needed to. And that gives me peace of mind. And I can communicate with her through the app on my cell phone without her going to pick up a phone. I can, say to her through the video camera, hey mom, how's it going? Mercedes is going to be there in about 10 minutes. And it's easy communication between the two of us. If she were to fall, we could actually talk to her through the camera, tell her that we're on our way, and she wouldn't need to be able to have to get up and answer a phone to communicate with us. This is Kelvin, who we've worked with. He's come for us for a loan. He has blindness and has a wheelchair. About 18 months ago, he fell out of his wheelchair during the pandemic and did not have an aide with him. And you'll see right there, he has an Echo Dot. He was able to call out to the Echo Dot for it to call his dad, that he had fallen out of the wheelchair and no one was there to help him. And the Dot was programmed to make a call to his dad's cell phone, and he was able to talk to his dad through the Echo Dot, and his dad was able to send assistance for him. So a very inexpensive piece of technology that was quite important in the time of an emergency. These are some quotes from people about their smart home experiences. The Echo makes me more independent and secure. I feel more secure having the ability to see who is coming in and using the codes. I can use the codes that Kirby set up for me, and it's great. So these are just some people talking about how they were surprised and the usefulness of the different smart home technology that they've integrated into their homes. Wanted to share that there are some major developments in smart home technology. If you've not heard, there's a new open source standard that has been agreed on by over 100 smart home manufacturers, and that's called Matter. And this is open source technology, which will facilitate installing devices from a disparate group of manufacturers. Now you don't need to check, does this work with Alexa? Does this work with Google? They will all work with each other. And the other really neat thing that this can do is with Thread, which is also another new networking protocol, they will interconnect with each other and not strictly from that device to the Wi-Fi. They'll be able to connect through a network connection, expanding, and then also reinforcing your Wi-Fi mesh in your network in your home. And the other really powerful thing is if your internet were to go down, they would still work because of this open source connection between all the devices. So this is a new protocol. Devices were just starting to hit the shelves this summer. This is the logo that you will find on devices that have the new Matter open source protocol. So you'll want to look for that in any new devices that you're purchasing. Here's our contact information if you would like any more information about smart home technology, and please visit our website. You will also find on the website, I put that list, other alternative finance programs in your state. So to look for other sources of funding for your assistive technology, please check that list.
All right, great. Thanks, Wendy. Now we're going to send it over to Ed, who's going to talk about more about computers and communication. Ed, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, I'll be talking a little bit about kind of a wide topic of alternative communication and computer access. There's kind of a lot of, I guess I would say, crossover between the areas. As people will notice, I'm an occupational therapist, so I do like to kind of start by talking about that we are staffed by speech therapists, and they are a very important component when you're talking about augmented communication. So a little bit about myself, if I can get my slide to advance. There we go. So I work at ShirleyRyan AbilityLab. We're just a largest rehab hospital in Chicago. We have inpatient, outpatient, and day rehab programs. I work personally in the Technology Center for the Environment, Computer, and Communication. Quick ground rule, I will try to sing out cost of stuff as I go along. There's a bit of a difference with funding for some of our stuff. If it's a communication device that is recommended by a speech therapist, Medicare and most private insurances will usually fund the cost of a augmentative communication device. Unfortunately, funding for things like the computer and the environment is a lot harder to come by. A lot of the things that Wendy just discussed about availability of cost and just getting funding and assistance does exist, but you certainly have to hunt for it some more. So to talk about augmentative and alternative communication, you'll usually hear that referred to as AAC, which stands for Augmentative Alternative Communication. I mentioned, obviously, a speech therapist who is involved with anybody that has communication difficulties is going to be a much more key player for most people. So I'll talk a little bit about it. Anybody that's not able to speak on either a temporary or a permanent basis, people who are not able to speak kind of in as clear a fashion as maybe might be helpful. I often talk with people who they do okay talking with their family members or people who are kind of know them well. But if you come and see someone like me who's not used to your voice, or anybody that has a hearing problem, for example, you might benefit from a communication device or a communication strategy in addition to. It's meant to supplement your voice. If you do have a voice, I always say use your voice clearly if you can, if it's working, but you might want to have these backup strategies. I also think about options for being able to speak over the phone. As was pointed out in the last presentation, people who use their communication devices to talk to things like Alexa and all of that type of stuff, very important and fairly, should all be part of a communication evaluation. We talk about no tech, low tech, and high tech. So no tech would be things like gestures. I can say things with my gestures, right? It's nice to often have a system that doesn't depend on a specific device. Being an assistive tech therapist, I often say I'm a bit of a Luddite. If I absolutely will work with the $30,000 brain computer interface if that's what's needed. But if I can get away with a wave, often that's a lot easier, right? So, but that being said, a low-tech system, which might be paper-based or might be a relatively simple idea, is going to be important. It's often, I would say, a little bit harder for the person to use, but it's often a little bit easier on a caregiver. A high-tech device is often going to allow you to be more independent when you're talking to somebody who may not know how to use a communication strategy or isn't going to have the inclination or the time or the knowledge to really use that. So the high-tech system might allow you to be a lot more independent with people who aren't going to otherwise listen to the speech and what have you. A speech therapist is going to help with figuring out, obviously, if someone's literate and can spell, they often depend on a very different kind of communication system versus somebody who might need to use symbols or would benefit from using symbolic communication. I have a set of PCS symbols up on the board here. I'll talk a little bit later in the presentation about dedicated communication devices as part of kind of that computer access component. Okay, so moving into a little bit about hardware. There are keyboards, obviously, that could be relatively big. This one on the right of your screen is called the Big Keys LX. The keys are all 1-inch square, so obviously larger than your regular keyboard. The one on your left, there's any number of them. If you go on Amazon and look for mini keyboards, you can figure out how big they all are. And so somebody with less range of motion might do better with that smaller keyboard, right? Somebody who maybe has a tremor or a vision issue might do better with something like the Big Keys. Most operating systems will have standard on-screen keyboards, obviously. Things like, just your average smartphone or your average communication device or Windows computer, Mac computer will all have an on-screen keyboard available. I like to throw a quick thing about rate enhancement. So if I'm using a communication device or I'm just using a computer for the more traditional reasons, wanting to use a Word document or type in email or what have you. Word prediction is pretty much ubiquitous with on-screen keyboards. If I type WH, I'll get my list of, where, who, whose, when, all of those WH words will pop up, and I can usually auto-complete those. Generally, on-screen keyboards with word prediction are going to be a little bit better than a separate standalone word prediction keyboard. Abbreviation expansion, if I type TEC into my computer at work and then a space, it will expand out to Technology Center. If I type SRAL and a space, it expands out to ShirleyRyan AbilityLab. I am a perfectly decent 10-finger touch typist, but I got better things to do with my life than type out ShirleyRyan AbilityLab all day long. So I have various abbreviation expansions set up. I used to say FFC, feel free to contact, THY, I think was thank you for the referral, and please reach out if there are questions, period. So that will expand out with just those 2 or 3 characters. Speech recognition, I know the last presentation kind of cited when I think it was Syria was talking to her computer, she was using a program called Dragon. I use Dragon all the time myself. Again, I'm a perfectly decent 10-finger touch typist, but at this point in my career, I use Dragon for all of my clinical documentation, and I'm able to speak it out and have the computer type out what I say, which amuses my coworkers to no end, but whatever floats your boat, right? Almost all of the operating systems, Mac operating system, Windows operating system, Chrome operating system, smartphones, Android, and iPhones all have kind of built-in pretty decent speech recognition programs at this point. And, if I had a lot more time, I'd even get into how and why I use those sometimes with people who are not able to speak completely clearly, but still were able to use those speech recognition programs pretty adequately for some of those folks. Okay, so that's sort of the keyboard idea, obviously super quick. Mouse options, obviously I can use a mouse to type on an on-screen keyboard. I can use what's called dwell clicking. So if I'm not able to click on, if you kind of picture me with a standard mouse with a click button, if I'm not able to accomplish that click, but I am able to move the mouse, then dwell clicking is a nice option for a lot of people. I'll move my mouse cursor to my target and I will hold it for a preset length of time, usually around 1 second. And then as long as I hold it for that preset length of time, dwell clicker will click. And so dwell clicker by SmartBox is an example of some dwell clicking software that you can use. Or it comes with on most of the communication devices I'll be talking about in a minute. You can do an external switch or button. Again, if you're not able to click the standard mouse, I have some people who will perhaps move the mouse with, say, their head or what have you, and then use a separate arm motion or a separate leg motion to click a switch or a button, and that will send my click. Or I can just use a touch screen from the get-go, and of course that will send some clicks for me. I've got just a few pictures of some kind of alternative mouses here. I kind of like to talk about these in the context of people who may not have a lot of good arm placement, like maybe they're not able to bring their arm up to use a standard desktop mouse, but if they can kind of hold their hands in their laps, then I have a lot of people who are able to, for example, use a wired trackpad like this one over here. Or maybe they use a small thumb-operated trackball or a slightly larger trackball. There are presentation mouses, for example, that will have like a joystick type of a mouse. One of our favorite trackballs is called the Kensington Expert Mouse. It's about so big, maybe 5 inches tall by 4 inches wide. Fairly large for a trackball, but the programmable buttons and the scroll ring can make it a lot easier to accomplish a lot of my computer tasks. So just a few things out there. There's probably dozens of these types of things if you search online. And if you have kind of that ability to move that smaller range of motion, these can be relatively inexpensive and relatively convenient ways of using a mouse. If I'm not able to use my hands on that mouse or it's not convenient, then I might work on getting into a head-activated mouse, where as I move my head around, that moves the mouse cursor on the screen. So mentioned earlier that there's dwell clicking, or sometimes you would use switches to wind up sending a click. But some currently available products are the Glasshouse, which I kind of like a lot. It's a Bluetooth system, plug and play Bluetooth, so you don't have to have extra software to install. The Head Mouse Nano on the right is this one, and that just sits on top of your computer. It uses an infrared camera, and the infrared light bounces off of a small dot that you wear either on your eyeglass frame or your forehead or what have you. Please do not ask me how to pronounce this. I'm going to call it the Kuha Zono. If anybody else knows how that's pronounced, feel free to jump in. But it's actually a pretty nice device that you wear on your head. Also gyroscopic. The Nano can sometimes be sensitive to background light or sunlight. Something like the Glasshouse or the Kuha will not be prone to those things. On the other hand, I feel like I might have froze there for a moment, so apologies if I did. Maybe somebody can jump in and tell me if I need to repeat. The Kuha is a gyroscopic mouse and not sensitive to background light, but it does require software, which is another factor for some folks. If I'm not able to use that head-activated mouse, that's when I'll get into eye gaze-operated mouses. So these basically consist of a camera that gets focused on your eyeball. And as I look at different parts of the screen, the camera is sensitive enough to know that I'm looking at that part of the screen. I will say on general principles, eye gaze mouses work pretty nicely. You'll notice that the communication devices that I have up here, all for the most part, have relatively large honking buttons. Whoops, sorry. Didn't know my mouse was going to do that. Oh, goodness, sorry. There we go. So you'll notice that all of the communication devices have relatively large buttons. That's because again, eye gaze, even in the best of days, is not necessarily as accurate as what you might be used to with a standard cursor. So by that same token, if I'm just kind of navigating around in the communication device software, eye gaze is usually pretty sufficient. If you're on a computer right now and you, for example, look at that taskbar in the lower right-hand corner of the screen where the battery and your speaker and usually your Wi-Fi icon live, those really small targets, most of the devices will offer some additional types of features to allow you to click on those really small buttons with your eyes. But by the same token, all of this becomes a little bit harder to use and can become a little bit harder to make sure you understand how it works. So I threw in a few different names of some communication devices in there, and we'll just add that. Yeah, I know it's been asked a couple of times. The slides, I'm happy to share my slides with Kelly and Avery. And my contact information will be in the slide deck, and I think it's going to be added to that YouTube video, but there's my email if people do have questions or what have you. Feel free to reach out, and we can kind of go from there. I appreciate everyone's time, and I'll be around for the Q&A, of course. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ed. All right, we are going to send it over to Ron now, who is actually live at Expo booth, and he is going to do a live demo of some assistive technology devices. Go ahead, Ron.
Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate it. Yeah, we are at the American Physical Therapy Association meeting. So I'm here with 8,000 of my favorite PTs. So I moved away from the booth because it was way too noisy. So Partners in Medicine, my company, is a U.S. distributor of upper limb mobility devices. So for decades, we've had wheelchairs for lower limb devices, but we really have had very little available for upper limb mobility issues. So I'm going to show you 3 devices. I'm going to show you a mechanical arm support, a powered arm support, and then a robotic arm. So I am not a wheelchair user, but I'm sitting in this chair so that you can see these in use. The arm supports are designed for individuals who have difficulty lifting their arm. So they tend to live in this space here, still have grasp, but don't have the ability to lift their arm up. So this device just attaches either to a table or to a wheelchair. You adjust the amount of lift that it's going to provide to the individual here, and it's kind of a set and forget. The idea is to provide enough lift so that we achieve zero gravity, just like if you're in the ocean and floating. And once you remove the weight of the arm, it takes much less shoulder muscle and strength to be able to move around. You see, you still have good range of motion, pretty much a complete range of motion. So this allows individuals to be able to eat, to drink, to take medicine, brush teeth, hold a cell phone, scratch an itch. You know, the things that you could think of that you could do while you're sitting in a chair. So this tends to be used for individuals who still have a moderate amount of shoulder strength, but are having difficulty getting their arm up. So they may use two hands to get up, or they may walk along their body with their fingers to come up, or the same across a table or a keyboard. So this is designed to just make that so much easier to be able to move around. So the only downside to a mechanical arm support is that you cannot adjust it. You set it and you forget it. So for some folks, the amount of lift they need is too much for them to be able to push back down against it. And so for those individuals, now you're talking about minimal shoulder strength, then we go to a powered arm support. Push that one back around there. Maybe, Elsie, would you mind just locking that one back there? So it doesn't hit me.
Got it.
So this is the same type of approach. You just put your arm into this trough and you put a little Velcro strap on. The difference is that this one is adjustable by the user with a little 6-button controller. So I'm just going to set that here. And with this, the user can decide how much lift that they want. Again, trying to establish that zero gravity approach. Now, as they get tired, as the day goes on, they may need a little more lift, they can add. Or if they're picking up something heavy, they've got a drink now, they may need a little more lift, so they can add a little bit more to be able to get up to their mouth. And then if the amount of lift that's required to get up, if they don't have the shoulder muscle, the tricep strength to be able to push back down against it, then they can release that just with the push of a button, and it takes that assist away. It also has the ability to tilt the whole unit forward or backward. And that tends to assist if you want to be able to reach out this way, you tilt it backwards and it pulls your arm out. Now you can get the light switches and elevator buttons and door plates. And the same with coming back and tilting it forward, bringing your arm across a little bit, and it'll help you with eating or reaching all the way over to the other part of your body. It also has locking capability, so you can lock it in place. So if you want to use a keyboard, you can just lock it in place vertically and type like this. You can lock it in place side to side. So for those individuals who have difficulty keeping their hand on the joystick, especially if they're out and about and they hit a bump, they can lock it in place to keep their hand on the joystick. So that's the second device. That's the powered arm support. And now we're going to go to JACO, which is a robotic arm. And this just sits on any power wheelchair, connects to any power wheelchair. And Kelsey's going to hook it up for me. I want to know, because this is probably the #1 question we get asked. And again, we are only based in the US. All 3 of these devices are available worldwide. Let me take this off.
Yes.
Are available worldwide, but in the US, they are covered by insurance. So you don't have to be concerned about having to pay out of pocket for that. Okay, so the robotic arm is designed for those individuals where a lift arm, the arm support that I just used, is not going to be sufficient. They may not have grasping capability or the ability to rotate their wrists for eating and drinking. So we can go to this device. And here you see it, it's attached to the wheelchair on the left side of my chair. it is controlled with the same controller that the person uses to run their wheelchair. So in this case, I have a joystick, but I could also use a sip and puff or a chin stick or a head array. And I think you can probably see okay. I'm just taking the joystick and going forward, backward, right, left, and the device is moving with that joystick. Now, Jayco, the robotic arm, has 16 different moves it can make, but your joystick only has 4 directions it goes. So we provide a little button and you can click on the button. And now when you use your joystick, you can go up, down, or you can rotate the hand in either direction. If I click one more time, I can now control where I want the fingers to go. So if something falls on the floor, I can point straight down and go pick it up. You can go up, left, right. And then the last mode is the finger mode. So this is the one that allows me to close the hand. So it has a thumb and 2 fingers on it. So it can do a grasp, or we can just do a 2-finger pinch if I'm picking up something small. So you don't have to worry about it hurting anybody. If your child is using this, it's not strong enough to hurt anybody. But if you're using it to hold a drink, you can see it holds on to a bottle very tightly. So you can use it for your whole bottle of beer, no problem. So the idea behind this device is to use it just like you could use your normal arm and hand. So, you know, drinking, eating, opening doors, picking up something that you've dropped. We hear this a lot as a frustration. You know, I can drink now. Scratching an itch is one of the big uses for it as well. I'm going to go ahead and open up the hand here. And I mentioned eating. So we do have a utensil holder. So you can use it for a spoon, fork, electric toothbrush, hairbrush, and this just sits on the table and the user can pick it up with the robotic arm. And now I can use it for eating. So I can take a bite and then go back down to the plate. The device does have the ability to record positions and save those. So I can set one up for down at the plate here. I can go do my scoop, getting my mashed potatoes today. I'm eating healthy. And then I can set it to come up to my mouth. And then with a touch of a button, it will go back down to the plate. So it makes repetitive tasks easier. So some people will use this for eating. Some people will use it for drinking, to swing a drink in. Some people will use it for opening a door handle, because you can use this now to get out of your home. So a person can be left independently because they can get out of the home. They can pick up their phone if they drop it. They can also use this to get into the refrigerator, to pull out an item, to microwave it. And so you have a chance to have snacks as well. So you can stay hydrated. You can use this for taking medicine. So if you have pills either on the counter or in a cup, you can use it to take medicine and to take a drink. So the idea here is to have a full complement of upper limb mobility devices available, depending on the individual and where their disease process is. We hope that they'll benefit from one of them. The process is similar that you would go through for any type of assistive technology or DME equipment. You would set up an evaluation with your therapist. We would come, put the device on your chair, let you try it. The therapist would write a letter of medical necessity to the insurance company. We do provide a free service for the life of all of these devices, so you don't have to worry about expenses down the road. And I think I'll leave it at that. I know we're running a little behind, so I'll shorten it up. I will leave our website address on the chat. So if you're interested, you can contact us, or you can take a look at our website. We got lots of videos of users using the devices. So thanks, Kelly, for having us out here. We do appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks so much, Ron. That was a very cool demo that you did for us. Very cool devices there. Great. And now we're going to send it over to Hannah talking about adaptive toys and gaming for all abilities. Hannah, go ahead.
Hi, guys. First of all, thank you so much to Avery and Kelly for having us. It's really exciting to get to talk about assistive technology and specifically about switch adapted toys. So this is our website, and I'll include a link below. But I am going to talk mostly about switch adapted toys today and different leisure activities and how we can make them more accessible. Okay, so my name is Hannah HEIMBAUGH. I'm a speech language pathologist turned AT maker. I worked in the schools, the public school system for 5 years, and now AdaptAbilities has become my full-time job. And so I have a disability myself, and I have 2 children with disabilities as well. I love creating new products that helps make life easier for my customers, and I'm really passionate about keeping our prices as accessible as our products. So all of our products that you'll see today, everything that we sell is under $50. And we try to keep things as affordable as possible. So why switch adapted toys? So I think a lot of times when you think about assistive technology, toys and leisure activities might be on the back burner, but access to play and leisure is a fundamental human right. Play improves the cognitive, physical, and social well-being of children and young people, and it's key to children's learning and development. Leisure has a lot of essential benefits for adults as well. It's associated with lower levels of anxiety, depression, and stress, as well as an increased sense of well-being. So we try to make products that are good for children as well, but we do a lot for teenagers, older children, adults. We try to cover all ages. You'll hear that. Okay, so you can see in this video, this child is using a switch adaptive bubble machine, which is one of our best sellers. And she is not only enjoying the toy herself, but she's using it to make the people around her laugh. So it's improving social emotional skills. It's improving her communication and giving her that enjoyment of seeing her caregivers, her therapists around her laugh. I'll show you another one. So this is Claire, and her mom shared this video with me, but they purchased a dart gun for her because her brothers love Nerf guns. And so being able to use a Nerf gun and shoot with her brothers really is essential to her. It seems like not that big a deal, but for her, it increases that interaction. It gives her a sense of being included with her siblings. And that's great for her overall well-being.
Ready? Press button. Now you've got it all here.
And this is Lucy. She's helping her mom in the kitchen prepare dinner. And this is actually another one of our best sellers, our switch adapted peeler. Peel apples, potatoes, use it to make doodles like zucchini noodles. We actually have a whole line of cooking products because it's such a huge part of our social interaction with friends and family. I mean, picture the holidays, your whole family is in the kitchen cooking, and to be the one that's, left out, not able to participate or kind of contribute in that way. And so these switch adapted devices give the users that opportunity.
I feel like this could be better.
Okay, so this is Silas, and his mom shared this video with me. So if you'll see right here, we have our switch adapted pourer, and initially it's just a wine decanter, but she came up with a great idea to use it in his wheelchair garden to give him the opportunity to water his own plants and be involved. And so it's great to see how, one switch adapted item can be used for multiple purposes.
I can't take my eyes off of it. It's so phenomenal. I'm not so so I'll stop it.
So this is Claire again, and she's using another one of our best sellers. It's our doodling octopus. And you can see that the octopus holds multiple markers in its hand, and you can kind of switch them out. But when it's activated, it spins around in a circle and makes kind of a Mandela design. And this is great because there aren't a lot of ways that individuals with limited mobility can, produce art or interact with, in art class or even just for leisure. So this is one of our products that we've developed to kind of bridge that gap. So for AdaptAbilities, what's next? So we have custom orders available. We have over 100 different products on our website right now, but we also do accept custom orders. So if there's something that you can't find, if an individual has a really specific interest, or a mom just reached out to me last week because her son really loves to watch her knit, and she bought him a knitting machine and she wanted to know if we could adapt it for her. So something like that where, you might not see it. I would love to work with you if you email me at hello@adaptabilities.net, and I'll have that email on another screen. But that's definitely an option. We love doing custom orders. And then we also are planning to expand our line of switches, and just wanted to mention that all of our products are compatible with any switches that you might buy from a bigger manufacturer, such as AbleNet, Enabling Devices. Any of our switches will work with their toys as well. And then we're also actually developing a line of toys to help you interact with your pets. So things to help you deliver them a treat with a switch, or throw a ball to play fetch. That is kind of our next step that we're working on right now. And so if you're interested in getting your own switch adapted toys and devices, I included a QR code. You can scan that, and it includes all the links for our website and our social media accounts. So our website is adaptabilities.net. And for custom orders, you can email me at hello@adaptabilities.net. And I'll include those in the chat as well. So if you want to follow us, we do try to do a lot of informational videos on TikTok and Instagram about how to use switch adapted toys, the different uses for them, and even how to adapt them yourself, because we're a big proponent on being able to get switch adapted toys into the hands of the people that need them, whether that be through educating or through y'all purchasing them directly from us. So if you guys have any questions, let me know, but I'll include those links below.
Great, thank you, Hannah. All right, now we're going to hear from 2 community members, just giving insights on their adaptive journeys. So first we will hear from Jen Gluck. Go ahead, Jen, take it away.
Great, hi. So I'm Jennifer Gluck, and one of the reasons that I'm here is because I have a son. He's 14, he has college in 6, and I started making things for John, adapting things for him at a very young age. I think he was probably 1 when I made a chair for him. His legs were in a spica cast, and I couldn't fit him anywhere. And I built this chair for him. I don't know if they still make these chairs, it's been a while now, but they were called Bumbo. And you could put them on counters or different places. And since I wasn't able to do that with John, I had to adapt. I didn't find like a solution for it, so I was able to make my own. So that's going way back. And the thing that I like about making things is you can make exactly what you need. You can custom build something to exactly the way you need it. We just saw an amazing range of things that you can buy, which I think is fantastic. And, you know, if there's something out there that you can buy, I think that's obviously the easiest way to do it. Unfortunately, sometimes things are expensive, sometimes they don't meet your criteria. And so if you need to, then it's time to adapt on your own. I was thinking back to Cure CMD, and when John was being diagnosed. And at the time, Cure CMD had a website, and they put on stories, my story, where you could read about other people who were going through the diagnosis process and what that journey was like. And I found it to be so helpful. So I wrote up a little thing for John that was on their website for a time. I think that helped me to see how fantastic the internet is, and how you can find things that are so useful. And so when I started making things for John and adapting them, I started a website so that I could put these items on the website. One reason was I wanted to remember myself, how I made these things in case I needed to do it again. I wanted a place to point to if somebody asked me, oh, how did you do that? I wanted to say, oh, let me give you this website. And I wanted also all the help that I got from like the Cure CMD website and from others. I wanted to be able to let other people have a place that if they were Googling, trying to solve a problem, they could possibly find inspiration from my website. And that's some of the reasons that I started genmadeit.com, which I will put in the chat where to find it, because you can go back in Jen Made It from 14 years ago when I started making and adapting things for John, all the way up to, I just put in a new one a couple days ago because I knew I was going to be here. And so I thought, I'll put in one of the new things that I made. So let me just go over a couple highlights of things that I made for John. If you find them interesting, like, oh, that could be useful for our family, then you can go to the website and see how I made it and see how you might be able to adapt it for you. So I talked about the chair, the little chair that I made for John when he was in a spica cast. I think the next big thing that I made for John that turned out to be incredibly useful is I made a walker for him out of PVC pipe. We were going to be going to the beach and I wasn't sure how it was going to work out. And anyway, I built this walker out of PVC pipe and turned out it was good for the beach, but even better, it was just better as a daily walker. The walkers, here's a case where there are perfectly great walkers out there, but for us, these walkers were so heavy, John couldn't move them around. So making this PVC walker, it's so lightweight, he was able to move around so much easier. Let's see. Let me talk about, we had a big discussion today about smart houses and using smart controllers and things. And I love using smart technology. Some of it wasn't around when I started trying to make things easier for John. I saw that in one of the things that they showed was a door opener that is now Alexa enabled. We had a door opener, but it was not Alexa enabled. So I made it myself Alexa enabled. They have microcontrollers that you can get. There's an ESP8266 microcontroller that you can code yourself to do what you need it to do. And so I was able to use this controller so that Alexa could control our door opener. And I use the same concept, the same technology to operate our elevator. It's able to use a relay in order to push the button for the elevator. I also use this to be able to turn our lights on and off using Alexa. Now, again, here's a case where things have expanded so much. You can buy smart controls for your light switches. It just so happens in our house is a little bit older, and a lot of this technology requires you to have a neutral wire in your house, which we do not have. So again, I was able to use this microcontroller to make our own light switches where I didn't need this neutral wire. So that's a case where I could have bought what was out there, except that it wouldn't work for us. So I had to adapt and make it on our own. And again, if you're interested in these things, you can go to my website, scroll through the things that I've made, and I have detailed out a lot of how I've made these things if you're inclined to check it out. Another thing that I think is amazing for us is 3D printed technology that we have now that's available, so super available for all of us. I find that 3D printing solutions is incredible because it's so custom. You can design and make exactly what you need. And there's a couple things on my website as well that you can check out that I've made that might give you ideas of, oh, interesting, maybe I can make that myself. You don't need to be too intimidated. It's, I think it's accessible for everyone. You can go to Tinkercad, which you can log onto that site. And from there, you can design. They have simple tools. You're not going to, using you can start with Tinkercad and get progressively more difficult to build more intricate things. But I think Tinkercad is a great start, and you can build a lot of things using that. You build your model, and then how are you going to print it out? You could buy a printer yourself, which is, again, is out there and easy to, I mean, it's, if you've got the time and the money, it's easy to do. But a second alternative is a lot of libraries. Once you build your model, you can take your model to them and they can print it out for you. And that's what I did for quite a while before I invested in buying my own printer. I'm just going to show, I'm going to see if I can show a couple examples. You can see this. This is very simple, a very simple thing that I printed out. It's a urinal that we use for John. And the reason that I made it is we tested and we bought lots of urinals and they didn't work well for us. This one was, it's just a cup essentially, except it's oblong. And being oblong, I don't need to spread his legs far apart. I can fit it in there very easily. That's a simple thing. Here's another one that I printed recently. Okay, so I'm sure many of you have enteral feeders. Well, in our case, we had to, you have to hang the bag. And now if you can see this black shape, this is the part that I 3D printed, and I use it to hang the feeding bag and to plug into the feeder. We didn't have a stand, and I wanted a custom one that fit exactly the needs that I required it to. And I think this took me, I don't know, not much of more than a half hour to design, a little longer to print out, obviously, but it's been working out great. So that's just like a couple little examples. And the last thing that I just want to talk about is one of the more recent things that I have been working on is in terms of everything that I have made. I think this has made like the biggest difference in our life, and it's adaptive clothing. I've made zipper pants for John, and these zipper pants have zippers along each side of the leg, and you can unzip the pants, set them in a wheelchair. So the idea being we would struggle with pulling pants onto John. He would be in bed and we'd move him from side to side as we tried to pull up the pants. And it was a struggle. And at the time, John was having back pain, which caused a lot of stress because you don't want to be moving him a ton as you're trying to pull up these pants. And so that brought us to trying to adapt and make these new pair of pants. So we zipper down the sides, lay the pants in a wheelchair, then bring John over, sit him in the wheelchair and zip the pants up. So I guess the exciting thing is I've been working now the past year, hoping that I might be able to bring the pants to our community members. I'm still working on it. It's a harder problem than I thought it was going to be in terms of making these pants custom to get the size, be able to get these pants sized to whoever needs them. But I think I'm getting there. And so look in the future on the Facebook CMD site for more information on these zipper pants. And hopefully I'm going to be able to have a way to get them out to the community. So any questions, feel free to email me or to visit the jenmadeit.com site and just let me know if you have any questions. So thanks very much.
Great, thank you, Jen. And last but not least, we're going to throw it over to TOMECA. And TOMECA, go ahead.
Well, hello. I want to first thank you for having me. This has actually been very educational for me. I've thoroughly enjoyed everybody that has presented. And I'm TOMECA. I live with limb-girdle muscular dystrophy 2E. I guess the onset of my limb-girdle was almost 28 years ago, but I was genetically tested just a couple years ago to confirm that it is in fact limb-girdle muscular dystrophy, and it gave me a subtype. It affects my walking, climbing stairs, my range of motion, standing from a sitting position. I currently drive and I work full time, but I do require some adaptive products to work at work and at home. I don't currently use anything to drive, but I do drive a SUV. I've always driven SUVs. I find it that they're easier for me to get in and out of. I do require like a running board that helps me kind of get in, but I do use some other products, and that's today I wanted to talk about a few of the things that I've used that's been very helpful for me at work and at home. So at work, I generally stay in my office. I don't go out. I work at a hospital. I don't go out and venture out in the hallways too much. But I do have things that I need in my office. So I have like a refrigerator, microwave, printer. I have a high-low desk that allows me to sit or stand. It's like a sit and stand desk. And I use a drafting chair for the desk that raises slightly higher than a normal office chair. I also have that at home as well. I have a sit and stand desk and a drafting chair that makes it just more comfortable sitting and being to the computer in order for me to get up and down without someone's assistance. So in my restroom, I have a restroom in my office. In the restroom, I use a folding, I guess it's like a bedside commode chair that has arms that fits over the toilet. I have that at work, and I also have a super pole. And the super pole is kind of neat. I wish I would have had a picture of it. But it's bolted to the floor, and it allows me to grab hold to the super pole to get up and to stand upright in the bathroom. So it's actually very helpful, and it's something that you can find on Amazon. I'm an avid Amazon shopper, so a lot of the things that I've used can be purchased on Amazon. The folding commode chair, I also have one that I travel with that's a little different than the one that I have at work. And that one has legs that you can pull down and fold. And it folds up into a carry-on luggage, and it's normally in the overhead compartment when I travel, and I can use it in the airport restroom. All you have to do is kind of set it up. It goes over the toilet. Makes it a lot easier to go to the restroom in public spaces. So let's see. In public spaces, I've also used like the Up Easy Seat Assist, and this is a device that you can sit in a chair, and it's already in the upright position, and you sit on it, and it works kind of by hydraulics. And once you get ready to raise up, it kind of helps to push you up just slightly to assist you in standing. Let's see, I've also used the caboose, and both of these items also can be found on Amazon. And the caboose gives you a lift of 3 to 4, like 4.5 inches on your chair. And if it's on the legs of your chair, it goes on any chair with 4 legs. And it's very easy to set up as well. And it goes under your chair and it gives you height. You'll find that height has definitely helped me out a lot. I'm not very tall. I'm about 5'2", and having height in chairs and things like that has been very helpful for me. It's a lot less strain to get in and out of. Sometimes I still need assistance with someone helping me, but it's been extremely helpful. I have counter height table and dining chairs. I have the same thing for our patio furniture for dining. It's counter height chairs, counter height tables. Pub level is a little more difficult for me to get in and out of, but the counter height seems to be perfect. It's a sweet spot for me to actually use. I also have, let's see. Oh, let me go back. The caboose chair, it holds up to like 300 pounds if it's on the bottom of the chair. And like I said, it can be carried in a bag. It's very portable for you to use when you're out. So at home, let's see. At home, I also have a lift chair, lift reclining chair. And the one thing about the one that I have, I've had it for a very long time, and I'm finding it hard to find one similar to it currently because it has 4 legs. And what we've done is we've replaced the legs on the chair to give it a little more height so that when I sit down, I'm not plopping down and I can kind of sit on it, push myself back. So we put more legs on it. The ones that they have now are not designed quite like that. But if you can find something that has the legs, I'm telling you, it's an absolute game changer for getting in and out. It gives you more height to the chair and is very helpful when you're even when you're lifting it up for it to assist you. I also use it's called a lift seat for the toilet at home, which is also very helpful. It is powered, so it lifts you up to a standing position when for the toilet. And recently I purchased I had an adjustable bed that just adjusts the feet and the head, but I currently have one that is high-low. So it also will raise me up high enough to where I'm practically at a standing position out of the bed. So I'm not any longer trying to push to stand up and hold on to something and trying to get myself straightened up. I'm just almost just standing. It's not quite effortlessly, but it is compared to what I was doing. So it's been a game changer for me. I've had the toilet seat and the bed have been huge game changers. And just trying to be able to maintain some level of independence, which I know that most people in my position and want to do. We want to remain as independent as possible. So it's been extremely helpful for me to be able to use these things and be able to do them on my own without, with little to no assistance. So, and that brings me to last year, I launched, in November, I launched a foundation, and we're in our, still in our beginning stages of the foundation, but it's a nonprofit foundation, and it's Invisibly-Visible Foundation, and it is there to provide assistance, financial assistance for those with neuromuscular conditions that are trying to purchase equipment, devices, a lot of the things that you guys have talked about today. We want to award grants directly to the vendor on behalf of the people that have the applicant, to help them purchase these things, because these things are not, they're not easy accessible sometimes to those of us that could really use them. You know, a lot of people are not working, and if you're working, insurance doesn't cover a lot of things, and we want to be able to provide assistance with grants and help people get access to the things that you guys have talked about that would help them maintain that independence and be able to have some confidence and just a new lease on life. So we're not currently accepting applications just yet, but hopefully soon we will be doing that. We're doing grants up to $1,000, and I'm working to partner with other companies that will allow people that have gotten our grant to also get some type of discount, and and us referring them, even if they don't get our grant, we can refer people and they can give them something off, and kind of just help and assist with making these things more accessible to individuals that actually need them. So I'm going to, in the chat, I'm going to put our website. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and I also will let you know about my blog. I blog about invisible disabilities, and just trying to bring some awareness, and because I have noticed in my journey that we don't see what we don't see, and we don't see what we don't want to see. So I'm trying to bring more awareness to people with disabilities, and open people's eyes and get them to think a little further beyond themselves, to see that we do exist, and we're here, and we work amongst you, we live amongst you. So I think that is all. I'm here for any questions, and I hope to have the answers. Thank you so much.
Thanks, TOMECA. All right, so okay. We just wanted to highlight and direct you to some other valuable resources and products we thought would be beneficial for our community, from an accessible door system to a simple Amazon search. If you would like to dive deeper into these, we will be sure to include these links in the YouTube recording description for easy access if you would like to look into them more. We'll go ahead and open up for Q&A. Okay, so our first question is, I would like to hear more about possible funding sources for assistive technology. And this community member is from Maryland. I don't know if anyone wants to talk on that. I know we have some resources in the chat that we can provide.
I can talk a little bit about funding options.
Okay.
So on the PATF website, we have our Funding Your Assistive Technology Guide, which is an available, a free PDF download. Some of those resources are only Pennsylvania, but many of them are national resources. The other thing that's a really valuable resource that you will have in every state is the federal program, the ABLE program. ABLE is a savings vehicle for people with disabilities. I just dropped into the chat to be shared. PATF is hosting a free webinar on Wednesday, March 15th, 6 to 7 p.m. to go over the Pennsylvania ABLE program. But this is all a federal program, so there'll be very similar programs in every state. And this program is a vehicle for people to save, to purchase assistive technology. There are certain things that can be used from a ABLE account. Assistive technology is one thing. A home, it's a great vehicle for people to save for home. It belongs to the individual with a disability. There are some age requirements. Currently, I always struggle with remembering the exact ages, but the individual has to have had their disability before the age of 22 or 26. But that federal guideline is changing in 2026 to be age 46. But that any money in those accounts are invisible for qualifying for SSI, Medicaid, things like that. So it's a great vehicle to set up for future use for saving for home, paying for assistive technology. In Pennsylvania, we've seen that a lot of people use that as their checking account because it's a free checking account. And it also has an investing arm. So we just set up accounts for our 2 children born with hearing loss, and we were able to invest in Vanguard or Fidelity. So that for long-term saving, it's not just sitting in a savings account, it's actually invested. So I recommend if you are able to join the ABLE webinar and then also download our guide.
All right, perfect. So some of the questions were for Ed that he decided to answer to type, which is totally fine. But I did want to read them out loud just in case anyone could not access the Q&A portal. So one question was, can Nano head mouse control a joystick for a wheelchair? And Ed's response was, I'm not aware of an option to control a wheelchair with a mouse device like this. Eye gaze cameras, only certain ones can control a wheelchair through Ability Drive and a couple of competitors. And another question for Ed was, any suggestions for super light touch keyboard for 10 working fingers that are simply weak? He said that is a very complex question in its own way. He is not aware of mechanical keyboards that are significantly easier. He has played with using an iPad or other touchscreen devices in landscape view, combined with some tactile buildups to help your fingers know where they are, kind of thinking toothpicks or like around the keys to help your fingers know where they are. But generally, his clients have not been successful with that. Another question was, can Ed share some tips or tools for people with speech articulation problems to access voice dictation on their phone, like Siri or something else? Ed said, so Dragon software will learn your voice to a degree. One may need to either train Dragon to recognize a given phrase, or one can use custom commands in Dragon or iPhone voice control, not Siri, to bypass or avoid certain phrases that people may have trouble with recognition.
Hey, Bria, I'm sorry. Can I jump in for a quick second on that?
Yeah, for sure.
Just to kind of add briefly, like a kind of a mild dysarthria is how I'll usually characterize it. I usually have some success with speech recognition. Super common thing, I call it, a speech therapist probably has a better term for it, like when you have 2 consonants that come together, like in the word Johnston. I have a lot of people who can't get out Johnston quickly. They kind of say John Stun, and speech recognition can't deal with that. So there might be certain phrases that you just kind of can't get speech recognition to get, and those are the people for whom I try to have kind of a workaround in phrases, or just know that those sounds won't make it across well. But it's a lot of training, and you have to kind of be able to work around. And I think of it more for people who maybe can type slowly, say with one finger or with one hand or something like that, and maybe they type that word Johnston, but then move on to speech recognition for the rest of the sentence. And that's kind of how I've characterized that or worked with that successfully with some folks.
Okay, great. Deb, you did want to add something about home generators?
Yeah, just all of these electronic devices that need to be plugged in would be of no use if there's a power outage. So consider adding a home generator, call an electrician, and get it sized for the number of rooms, the places where you have outlets that have to have things plugged in that you can't afford to have them fail. So in addition to the devices, charging stations, refrigerator, a place where special foods may be kept, CPAP machines, just really anything that people need to plug in. That's it. Thanks. Great program, everybody. Thank you.
Great point. And then our last question is, will an adjustable bed sold at furniture and mattress stores work the same as a hospital bed for an individual who cannot sit up in bed on their own power or even stand up to get in and out of bed, therefore need a lower profile bed in order to transfer from the wheelchair right onto the bed with a transfer board? Anybody can take that.
I'm gonna say no, because I did have one from a furniture store, and it sits a little higher. I actually needed to get one of those low profile step stools, kind of steppers, to step on that and then sit down because I'm not very tall. And I found with my bed now that I have, it's much easier because it goes down much lower. So if you do need to transfer from a wheelchair, it should be a lot easier. And getting out, if you're standing, you can raise it up higher. And if someone's trying to help you, they can raise it up higher. So I got the one that I have from a medical supplier. I was able to use my insurance for it. It was, I had to send a claim in. So I did send a claim in for insurance to cover it. And I also had a script from my doctor that took some percentage off of it, took the tax off of it. And the medical supplier also had a discount through like a Reach magazine or something that took something off of it. Because I just only bought the frame. I didn't buy the mattress, but it was $5,000 for a queen. For a queen size, it was $5,000. So it helped to be able to knock some of that off of there, took it down to like $4,100. So that was extremely helpful. But yeah, it's not gonna work the same. It doesn't even lift the same. Like the head doesn't lift the same. The bed that I have now lifts a lot better, and it allows me to sit up straighter in the bed versus the bed that I did have from a furniture store. I hope that answered their question.
Yeah, thanks, TOMECA. And then our last question, for Wendy, Ed is curious about best TV models to work with Alexa. Fire TVs probably best. What works best for volume and channel changes for full TV access?
So Ed, the individuals that serve on our smart home technology advisory committee, they all use Fire. The Fire they started actually, young man Michael started with just a Fire stick, But now, many of them have upgraded to a Fire TV. So that's what we have seen used most frequently.
Thank you. It's a tough one because most of the TVs that are just on the model, there'll be those frustrating gaps where Alexa won't do whatever it is that you want it to do. But thank you.
All right. Well, on that note, I'll hand it back over to Kelly to wrap up.
All right, thanks everyone for joining us today. And thank you to our speakers. We're very grateful for all of you sharing your expertise in all these different areas. We hope you found value today in the information that was shared. Make sure to save the date for our next webinar in our adaptive series on adaptive driving, April 1st at 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll continue this mini series. And if you have any questions, as always, reach out to outreach@cmd.org. And just a reminder that Tuesday is Rare Disease Day. So we definitely would invite you to share your CMD story and participate in some way and show your stripes and speak with your legislative advocacy team on ways that you can make your voice heard and make a difference. All right, and we always want to keep the conversation going. So feel free to share today what you learned from this at CureCMD. You can use the hashtags on the screen. We'd love to hear from you. And yeah, thanks again everyone for joining us and have a great rest of your weekend.